Hello and welcome to What the Tech from Boast AI, where we talk with some of the brilliant minds behind new and exciting tech initiatives to learn what it takes to tackle technological uncertainty and eventually change the world. Today, I'm honored to welcome a member of the Boast team onto the show, Mr. Shahed Khalili. Shahed is Boast Chief Product and Technical Officer, where he's leading the team that's building our award-winning data-driven R&D intelligence platform, using the latest in AI and ML to help our clients accelerate their innovation and extend their product runways. At his core, Shahed is a dreamer, builder, and a seasoned operator. Most recently, he helped grow Galvanize to unicorn status on its April 2021 sale to Diligent for more than $1 billion USD. He's also been a two-time co-founder, an engineer, and a product manager throughout. And has gained a lot of insights about building powerful solutions that I can't wait for him to share. I'm excited to dive in and understand where we've been and what's in store as Boast continues to grow and help even more businesses maximize their investments into critical R&D. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Shahed.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Paul, for having me here. I've been waiting to get an invite to be part of the show. It's an amazing podcast, and I enjoy listening to the amazing story of the guest that you bring on. So excited to have this conversation.
Oh, I absolutely love to hear it, Shahed. And again, I know you've been a fan and you've been a huge supporter of us. So it is long overdue that we have you on the show because so many of the folks that we talk to on the show, they know you or they know about the great work you've done or some of the roles that you've played in the tech space, specifically in the SaaS space. But I'd love to hear from you. Tell us a little bit about your career and how you got into kind of the tech game to begin with.
Oh, this answer will definitely date me, but I have a little bit of gray showing here, so that's all good. My career started back in 98 when I was a comp sci student. And it was the crazy times of the .com. This thing that we call the internet was relatively new. And I was studying computer science and met a friend who knew how to do graphic design. And together we said, hey, I can code, you can draw, and we can build websites. So let's start our own business. And that's when I decided to find a co-op term at a startup. So use the college to gain a bit of experience, found a startup, worked for the co-op employment that we had at the college that I was in, joined the startup to build an e-commerce site for a semester. And this predates all these e-commerce platforms. So we had to build everything from scratch. And when I came back from that co-op term, I felt that I had gained the skills I needed, dropped out of college and joined the .com craziness and started selling our service and building websites. And eventually we came up with this brilliant idea that we can build a form-based website builder. Long story short, our tiny little startup got acquired and we joined another company, which later on became a victim of the .com burst, and that company went under. And that was my first experience into work life, from transitioning from school to work and having a good ride for about a year and a half. And we experienced our first recession. And, some folks here do remember that. Some folks remember the 2008 recession and then the COVID recession and all the unemployment that happened after that. It's fresh in everyone's mind. That back then in 2001 was pretty crazy. It was a bigger dip and it lasted quite a while to recover. So I stopped the entrepreneurial path, found a job as an engineer at a financial institution and continued working till the whole Web 2, as nowadays we call it, the whole social network and things came out and the lean startup became a thing. And I took a stab at the second startup where it was in the social knowledge sharing or content sharing world, which I ended up dropping that about before even launching to join the team at what later got rebranded as Galvanize. The company at the time was called ACL, a technology company that later transitioned from a primarily service-led with a perpetual software license. We transitioned that from what was primarily services and perpetual software sales, client server premise software, to a B2B SaaS company, which later we rebranded to Galvanize. And in 2021, we got acquired by a company called Diligent, which now they are leading in the whole GRC space, and was a quite successful acquisition for them. And I was very proud to be part of that ride, very happy about the decision I made at the time to drop my entrepreneurial adventure and join this journey. It ended up being the right choice that I made. And as a result of that, I'm now quite a seasoned expert, I would say, in the B2B SaaS world. And that's my expertise. And that's how I ended up at Boast after. So I stayed with Diligent for about a year, made sure there is a good transition and everything from the product roadmap and everything is in place. And it coincided with a change in our personal life. Our daughter was being born and I decided to take a year off and be a stay-home dad and enjoy that until about a year later that I joined Boast, and looking forward to seeing how this journey pans out.
Shahed, that is incredible. First, I want to pull back on a few things that you mentioned. At the start, going all the way back to 1998, it might be recency bias because I just edited a podcast with John Leodier of Travel AI, and he was talking about how we're in the age of AI right now. I'm thinking back to the dot-com boom, and he actually made a very similar parallel. I don't think it's going to be all doom and gloom coming out of, if this is a bubble that we're in right now with an AI, akin to what happened at the end of the dot-com of it all. But I love that you took the opportunity that was in front of you, though, at the time. You said, hey, I can code. You found a co-founder who could draw, and you pulled your skills together and you made something cool happen. I think that is almost the running theme of the podcast so far. It's about people who recognize the opportunity. They recognize what their skills are, but also their limitations, and they get the recipe together for success long term. So again, you talked about a few different kind of recession cycles that you've navigated over the course of your career. I think having that scrappiness and vision from the start, from 1998 onward, all the way to 2024 today, has been what's probably really sealed you against the worst repercussions of what has been macroeconomic conditions that are really out of your control. It's having that eye, and it's having, again, that understanding and that versatility to really get through all of it all. Just wanted to pull that back up because I think a ton of founders who listen to the show are going to really, really relate to that. Also, I love that it got you into the B2B SaaS space. We talked about Galvanize, we talked about Diligent, and I mentioned that at the beginning of the show, but a lot of the DNA of Boast today comes from that team, actually. And I'd love to hear a bit more about what was up with Boast when you joined here, kind of what was the lay of the land, and how things have changed since you've come on in the past year. Tell me a little bit about what that journey looked like, why you came to Boast, and where we're at right now.
Great question. And definitely a lot to unpack there, as I've been going through that from the moment I started talking to Boast about joining the company till today that we're talking about it. And it's what makes Boast desirable for me or attractive to me is the fact that it's going through a similar kind of transition as a company, that the company's started from primarily and purely services. And as a result of them offering this service, they end up, and this predates me, before me joining, building a whole lot of tooling for our own consultants who can do their job better, faster, and deliver a more accurate and higher amount tax claim for our customers than anyone else can, because of the tooling that they built in-house or I say they because it predates me, we have built in order to serve our customers. But primarily the users of that technology was internal, our own consultant. Fast forward to many years later, the company realizes that the technology that we're sitting on is quite valuable on itself. And there's a lot of potential in building on top of that in order to expose it to customers and delivering value to our customers through the software interface alone. And as a company going through a transformation in being purely services to being a technology-backed services company to then later on in future becoming primarily a software-led organization. And that transition, going through becoming a purely B2B SaaS company, that's something that I have expertise in. And I like to repeat that. I definitely feel the challenge. And why Boast? Because the space that we're in is something that I resonate with. Like, I'm a technology entrepreneur, technology builder. And now I'm in a position where I can help others like me do their job better through giving them the biggest capital that they can get through the tax incentives and everything else that our technology can offer them, which I will unpack shortly. But serving the likes of me is definitely a passion. This is my home turf in a sense that I know it. I've been there. I've done that. And now I'm in a position to help others like me amplify their technology output and impact. That's definitely something that I'm passionate about. And I want to, it helps me wake up in the morning and do what I do every day a lot better.
I think you hit the nail on the head with something you just said at the end there too. Amplify output and impact. I think when I joined Boast, my expectation for what an R&D tax credit service, to your point, was very different than what I actually see as the value we deliver to our customers today. Yes, we have historically, and we still are really much a service-oriented business. We want to handle the R&D tax credit of it all for you. But even in the past almost 2 years that I've been here, the value proposition and even talking to customers, the value that they've realized from Boast, it's been a lot more than just dollars and cents. And I think that's something that's really cool that I love. It helps you wake up in the morning knowing that you're helping these people who you've been in their shoes before. You've been building products and solutions. You know how the R&D goes. Help them do their jobs better. Help them optimize that. And again, amplify their output. Make sure that they can do more with the resources they have. It's been eye-opening that it's not just crunching numbers all day on my side. It's about really understanding cool tech and making sure that everyone who we're working with can do as cool, if not cooler things than what we've done at Boast already today. So I love to hear that. I'm chomping at the bit because I want to ask you about some of that cool tech that we've worked on. Now, I know we talked a lot about how in the past it used to be very much enabling our techs and very much about enabling our tech and tax experts to do their jobs better for our customers. But could you speak a little bit about maybe down the line or even today, what are some of the tools and the tooling that we've built into the platform that customers themselves can touch and feel?
Great question about what they can touch and feel today. Just I want to touch base on the output and outcome and impact keywords that you highlighted. I picked those words carefully because there's two things that we offer our customers that makes us very different from your average R&D tax consultants, whether in Canada it's Shred or in the US it's your payroll credit or tax credit. We give you the biggest tax return, the tax claim, the biggest amount that then you can reinvest back in your R&D to build more and increase your output. But that's what everyone else does. In addition to that, we give you additional insights into your R&D investment, which will help you make better decisions that will amplify your outcome. And that's the part that technology offers, the technology stack that we've built, the insights into your R&D data. And that's what helps you make better decisions and amplify your outcome. And today, what our customers can tangibly face is that insights that once we do as part of doing your R&D claim, naturally, we need to look at where your R&D investment went to identify how much of that work was eligible for your claim, for your tax incentive. Now, that ability to ingest, enrich, and report on that data, analyze that data, that creates a gold mine that then we can show you additional information that is relevant to your claim and beyond. And that's what sets us apart, and that's what's valuable that we can do. And the key thing, another keyword that I want to go deep in is the enrichment, which is we look at I call it the digital footprint of your R&D activities. Like these are, as you create tasks for your engineers, for your designers to do things. There is a digital footprint of that. Any company that's bigger than a certain size uses some sort of a ticketing or task management or project management tool. In addition to that, there is the code changes, the artifacts that the team, the people that you're paying, you're investing in order to create an outcome for you. There is code at the other end. So we have that data. There is, again, digital footprint. Our technology is able to gather this data, analyze it, and derive time estimation from the work done to then say, analyzing all your ticketing system, we can then transform that into how much time Paul spent on a given project or a given task, how much time I spent on a given project and task, and then classify what portion of the work was eligible for your tax claim, what portion of the work wasn't. We can slice and dice that data in any other way. What portion of that work was going towards a strategic roadmap initiative, what portion of that work was going toward just maintenance of line and keeping your lights on, and give you that insights into where people's time is going and therefore where your dollars and cents, your R&D investment is going. And that's the valuable insight that the technology or our enriched data warehouse, that's the foundation of our platform, can offer. And I can't wait to expose more and more of that to our customers who can then have access to that information and make better decisions and overall run better, efficient R&D organizations and manage their stakeholders better. What portion of their time, their team's time is going towards what? Or if they plan to say that our roadmap is going 30% towards this, 20% towards that, 50% towards keeping the lights on, we can compare it against actuals by looking at that enriched data set and say, oh, well, we said this, but in actuality, people are spending 90% on bug fixes. And that's why the roadmap is not moving forward. This is what that data set the enriched data set that we have for our customers can offer them.
I love that you brought up the enrichment point. I'm thinking about a recent conversation we had with Dimitri from Descree and how he was saying that working with Boast, it wasn't just about the tax credits. He learned how to actually start tracking his R&D, how to actually start measuring his R&D. And he adopted those best practices for next year because he had already had the integrations with Boast. It became an even more seamless process, and he improved his own internal workflows to drive better R&D and also get more money at the end of the day. And I'm also even thinking, I was talking to Abhinav from Stable last night, and he was saying that even how they incorporated changed based on conversations they were having with Boast. They had offices in the US, they had offices in Canada. There were rules about what qualifies based on whether you're a CCPC, if you're a Delaware C Corp, and all the above. Boast gave them the feedback on where they would optimize their spend and how they should go about structuring. The enrichment of the data that you get from working with Boast is actionable. It helps you not just manage better, report better. That's another key one that I think is very, very valuable to our users. They have the insights to your point, explain why we're not at X point in our roadmap or why we've gone past this point in our roadmap. I'd like to hope it's usually good news, but honestly, you sometimes need that insight to be like, okay, our best laid plans did not work out even though we thought they were happening. Let's do a postmortem. We at least give you that insight to do that postmortem. So love that you brought all that up.
Yeah, it's the old saying. Yeah, it's the old saying that you can't manage it if you don't measure it.
Exactly. That won't be title of episode, but that's a backup candidate for it because I think it's super important and it bears repeating. Now, I know that I mentioned a few of the cool customers that we've had. We work with a lot of great partners too, and even a lot of great people who work at Boast. I'd love to know, again, because you're relatively new to the team, you're doing a lot of work and you've hit the ground running since you started in the past year, but tell me about some highlights so far since you've joined, whether it's customers that we've worked with or even just team members who you've been exposed to, who've delighted you since you've come on to the Boast team.
Oh, that's a great question. And there's so many. Definitely customers fit into that because like I was saying, and talking to people that are like me, either they're founders, early stage, or they're operators and executives in later stage companies and that have similar problems that we have or I've had in my experience. So working with them has been amazing. That has been very, very rewarding to me. Definitely the people stand out. But culture is one of the things that is really strong and that was sealed the deal for me that, I'm going to be here for a long time. Culture is great. I want to focus in on our product and engineering department for this, but overall the company is amazing. Coming here, we're a remote team predominantly. We have shared offices that we use so people can have access to office, but we're for the most part, fully remote and distributed. We have engineers in Europe, in North America, in Canada, in the US. And how we work together and the culture that the people who had the culture and are receptive to what I was bringing into the table in terms of building those high velocity, effective product and engineering team, where we can, with a small team that we can have an amazing output. And with a distributed team that we are, by adopting things from like open source communities, like how they collaborate together, how they communicate with each other, how They care about building an amazing art, building a beautiful software instead of fulfilling requirements and closing user stories. That's the culture that we have here, and everyone has been open to changing to that culture. Has been what has sealed the deal for me in having joined an amazing company. Definitely something that I do want to talk about more, how we operate and how we're able to do so much with such a small team.
Yeah. And Shahed, I can absolutely attest to that. I think another key piece of it all is we're hungry. And that's something I see across the board in all departments. We're smaller on a lot of teams than I think you might expect if you didn't work at Boast, because our folks really have that passion and they're really hungry and we put in the hours. And it's, again, a shared ethos I see in sales, on the TSM side, in my go-to-market team, when you're talking to the customer success team. I've been at a lot of companies and I've not seen necessarily that consistency of spirit, which, and to your point, as a remote employee, one of the few folks here on the East Coast of the US calling in, I never feel at a distance from my team here. So I actually do think that that is a really cool point that's unique about Boast that I really want to highlight. You don't have to have somebody physically in your backyard to be the best playmate for you, especially if you're going to be starting a business or especially if you just need some good coworkers, and also meet them at their level when it comes to energy. But I digress on that front. Now, bringing it back actually to Boast. And I know we talked a lot about what's great about the product, and we teed up a little bit about what's in store and about what teams can actually action on from the product today. But could you give a little more of a forecast of maybe what we can expect over the next few months, if not the next year, as we work on some more cool stuff over here at Boast?
That it's more and more of making those insights that we can draw from your data, making that accessible to you. What at a very engineering level, I call it the data warehouse of your R&D operational data. So you can slice and dice it to however suits your needs to run your department better and report to your stakeholders better. And that's what I'm excited to roll out towards the end of the year and throughout the year. That helps our customers have more insights to their tax credit proactively as it's building out, be able to predict what it will be, have visibility to other areas of their R&D environments and all of that. That's very cool stuff that we're going to be launching in the coming year and a half.
Oh, I love it. And again, it's recency bias. I know you know that I've been looking at from survey data that we've talked to some of the folks who ideally will be customers of Boast in the future. I think having that data warehouse is something that they desperately need when it comes from a product development and R&D standpoint, regardless of what industry or sector you're in. And I'm so glad that Boast is seizing on that opportunity to deliver too.
Yeah, and it's becoming a more and more of a problem in the industry in the post-COVID era, with so much of the work being done remote and the executives feeling they don't have visibility to what's being done. As a result, we're seeing many organizations are calling people to come back to office. Like, if I can see your physical presence, then I assume you're working. That may or may not be true. If there is code at the end, that means they've done things. And then if they've done this effectively, the project management, then that means they've done it effectively or efficiently. There are many different ways that you can show how people are productive than butts and seats in a physical office. There is more and more need for having that visibility. It's bi-directional. Like engineering teams, they want to show transparency to the rest of the organization to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Make sure that we are aligned and working on the same thing. The shorter the feedback loop, the better. The more transparency to the rest of the organization, the better for everyone. The need for that visibility and transparency is bi-directional. So I feel that what we have is going to solve many people's problem, that they want to have that transparency and visibility.
Absolutely. And not to get too timely about it, but I also think broadening it out and thinking just macroeconomically too, there's a lot of uncertainty these days, and every single dollar counts and every single investment counts. You can work smarter, but again, you can make sure that you're really, really locked in and accurate with your runway estimations, and also maximizing the new capital coming in just by optimizing your R&D processes. So again, I think it's been a weird 2024 with everything you see in terms of interest rates and lending. And then you look at VC and then elections in the States and elsewhere. A lot of people have been concerned. And I think that if you can just better visualize your investments from the top down, which Boast helps you do, at least as it relates to R&D, you can rest a little more assured. You can sleep a little easier, and also your business will just be in better shape.
Yeah, it definitely isn't. There's a very good parallel there in the world of sales.
Yeah.
And I remember where Gone came out. I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and kind of the COVID timeline is all a time warp there. But anyways, it's fairly recent. And when it came out, I remember there was quite a lot of resistance when we were rolling it out in our company and every single other company that I talked to, that the individual sales rep were like, hey, we don't want to be policed. We like having that autonomy on how we handle a conversation between myself and a prospect. But over time, they realized how much value they're getting themselves by having that transparency to those conversations that they're fully in control of. They still have empowerment and autonomy on that conversation. That transparency that they give, the level of coaching that they get from their supervisors, the level of help that they can get from product managers or other places in the organization, it's just crazy. Nowadays, you talk to every single sales rep, Gong is their favorite thing. Where initially it came out, they saw it as, no, I don't want this. I don't want Big Brother watching over me. What is this? Take this away from me. Now it's changed. And this is the exact same thing in the R&D world, that it's just, it's no different. In fact, salespeople commit to a quota. In R&D and engineering, we commit to a roadmap. And the more transparency we have in our roadmap funnel, the better it is. The more discipline we'll have in managing the funnel, just like salespeople have disciplines in managing the stages of the sales. We'll have more discipline as a result of that transparency and visibility. We'll have more discipline, we'll have more rigor, and we'll have a better outcome, more efficient, and more likely to deliver on our commitment for the roadmap.
And even speaking for the marketing and go-to-market side of it all too, ensuring that all of your teams are telling the same story. I mean, it's a good record. I love that you brought Gong in. Immediately, I'm just thinking about how essential the Gong calls have been to understanding what we do here at Boast and understanding tax code. Flip side on the R&D analysis and the insights that you can gain from the Boast platform too. I understand so much more about what customers are able to do when you can actually look at that roadmap, understand what goes into executing it beyond even just the numbers, the individuals and the activities and the story that comes out of that. That's part of claim prep. That's part of what the Boast platform does for our tech writers. But I even just think as a marketer, it's made this all peanut butter and jelly for me. It's made it easy to eat, easy to digest, which is so cool. And to see something that is so deep in the product realm, having an impact even on the marketing side, that's such a powerful solution. So I'm so glad that that's what we're building Boast out to be. It's what Boast already is in many respects. But knowing that we're at time, I do want to throw in the final question. It's the $1 million question here. Pretty broad, and you can go in pretty much any direction with it. But for founders or prospective founders or prospective entrepreneurs in our audience, what's some sage wisdom you would give them about starting a business today?
My standard advice to every founder is two things. Don't do it alone. Have a co-founder. Because if you can't convince someone with way more money than you and way more tolerance towards risk than you to invest in your idea, then that means you're not working on the right idea. So don't invest your own money because you're probably convinced your idea is good. And like the first thing I said, don't do it alone. It's hard. You go through troughs. You're ready to give up. You need a partner to help you move forward. You need someone that complements your skill set, complements your attitude, and it helps. It helps a lot more. Even for investors, they're more likely to invest in those who have two founders than one.
I love it. Yeah. And the story that you can tell with two founders is a much better story, I think, sometimes too, just because, again, you can show those different skill sets and that you recognized your limitations and what you needed to pull in. So I love that. And again, on the funding front too, I can't not say non-dilutive funding. I know that's not going to get you started, but that can be one piece of the puzzle. It's also part of that consumer research. You want your customers to actually buy your product. And when you're doing that research and building your MVP, that's part of it. Your investors need to buy in on it too. So I think that's amazing advice. Shahed, I cannot thank you enough for joining me. This was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to listening to more of the podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks a ton.